Make sure we get transparency.
This video is about the IRS deadline and extensions. My name is Halford Fairchild.
Greetings, I'm Heather Fairchild.
We are the faces of Fairchild Tax Service, a family-owned business that has served Los Angeles and the nation for more than 70 years. Behind us are the images of my mother and father, Yuri and Flipper Fairchild, who founded the Fairchild Tax Service in the 1940s. In the 1960s, when I was in junior high school and high school, I was my mother's typist, and I became tax preparer in 1985.
Ooh.
Yes, this is my 39th year of doing taxes. I guess I've learned a few things.
You think?
Whenever we get near the IRS tax filing deadline, people who have procrastinated all this time start to panic.
Oh my God! I haven't gotten my tax done. It is the tax deadline. What do I do?
People go crazy near the deadline.
Our message to you is
Stop.
Just stop.
Don't be so crazy about the deadline. The deadline is not really real. The IRS will let you file the day after the deadline and the day after that, and in fact, every day of the year.
In fact, if you miss the so-called deadline, absolutely nothing happens if you have a refund coming. In fact, the IRS will pay you interest earned on the refund they owe you since the so-called deadline.
But what if you owe the IRS?
Well, if you owe the IRS and miss the deadline, you owe them a little bit more. That little bit more is not enough to make you go into a panic. Besides, anyone who owes the IRS and comes to us to do their taxes will owe a lot less.
And that's because we know a lot about the nooks and crannies of the tax code, and we take advantage of the IRS blind spots. So to all the people who are about to miss the deadline or who have already missed the deadline, don't worry. Rather than do your taxes in a mad rush, just wait until after the so-called deadline. You can do your taxes later in a more calm environment. You will be glad you waited because you will be working with me, someone who many of my clients call a magician.
And my baby makes magic.
I know how to make tax debt disappear, and I know how to make refunds grow.
You know a lot of other things too, don't you? So why does the IRS have a deadline in the first place?
The tax deadline is part of the mass hypnosis to get the minion moving. Without a deadline, no one would ever do their taxes. Who likes doing taxes?
Dr. Fairchild does.
It's kind of a love-hate relationship. But the good news is, like we've said, you can file any day of the year and there is no penalty as long as you get a refund. And I am the king of the $1 refund. You would be surprised at how many people are thrilled to get a $1 refund. But if you like big refunds...
And who doesn't like big refunds?
If you like big refunds, give me a number and I'll see how close we can get to it.
A lot of people hearing this message will ask for an extension because they procrastinated so long that they can't possibly make the filing tax deadline.
Here's our standard answer for a request for an extension, especially immediately before the so-called deadline. No. We don't do extensions because they are mostly a waste of time. And when we are near the deadline, time is the last thing we have to waste. To do an extension properly, according to IRS rules, we would have to receive all of the relevant tax information, calculate your bottom line, and have you pay what you owe with the extension.
And there's obviously no time for that. Your money is too funny and you procrastinated too long.
But don't worry, anyone who knows how we do taxes knows we can reduce your tax bill significantly by exploring the nooks and crannies of the tax code.
So no, we don't file extensions.
If you really feel you need an extension, you can do it yourself at irs.gov. Just download Form 4868, fill it out, and mail it in. If you don't send money with the extension, then you just wasted some of your time. And to all the people who are new to our service, just wait a few weeks until about a week or two after the so-called deadline when we're not in such a rush. And we will be happy to serve you and make your tax dreams come true. We do taxes all year long, except during the occasional vacation.
I love you.
I love you more. I'm going to tell a little joke because people who are looking at this, they've got this far in this video, they're a little tense and they're a little bit nervous, and we want you to chill out a little bit. So I'm going to tell you the story of little Sally. Little Sally wasn't really so little. She was like 5 years old and she sucked her thumb. Her mother was very embarrassed to see a 5-year-old sucking her thumb, so she did everything she could think of to try to get little Sally to stop sucking her thumb. So one day, little Sally was sucking her thumb. Her mother came up to her and said, "Little Sally, if you keep sucking your thumb like that, you're going to blow up like a balloon and burst." And little Sally jumped up. She thought about that. Later on that day, they were near a bus stop and they saw a woman who was about 8.5 months pregnant with a big stomach. And little Sally walked up to her and said, "Ooh, I know what you've been doing."